Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, look, the reason why we called this media conference was to highlight the first anniversary of MK. So that's the main business of the day. Some of the issues that you are raising have been addressed or will be addressed in the appropriate forums of the organization. But I will touch on them. I'm just highlighting the fact that of why we're here. And it's important to view even those questions that you are raising in their proper perspective. As we heard from the statement, this is a new organization which is 11 months old and is now going for its first anniversary. So we're talking about really a baby in terms of politics, which had to learn fast because the people of South Africa gave it such an overwhelming mandate, something unprecedented. There's no party that entered politics and attained almost 15%. In fact, it doubled the record that was set by COPE in 2009, which got 7%. So that's really the issue. So even these developments that you are raising must be looked at in that context. The introduction of a new player in the South African political landscape has to affect everybody, literally. There's no single political party in this country that is unaffected by the emergence of this new giant organization. And that is why we're celebrating the first anniversary in the kind of spirit that we are. And that is why we have chosen the places where we got the highest votes, or which you might call the strongholds. So in Mpumalanga, as you heard last week, we're going to Mkhondo, in Versbande, where we got more than 50% of the vote. In KZN, we'll be going to Ilembe, where we got a very high number of votes. Here in Gauteng, we're coming to Ekurhuleni, where we received the highest number of votes. And then nationally, we're going to eThekwini, which gave us more than 500,000 votes, which is an unprecedented number. So that's the context. So naturally, when that happens, because politics is a competitive space, so all our competitors have to now adjust to the reality that there's this new baby that has come into the mix. The things that we have emphasized in our constitution are about building unity, progressive unity, and black unity in particular in South Africa and on the continent. And it is also about what we call total liberation, which means political, economic, spatial, knowledge, cultural, you name it, but total liberation. So that's also a new thing that is being introduced in the South African political landscape. So the people who are operating in those spaces obviously will also feel a bit affected. So the Progressive Caucus, to come to your specific question, Junior and Sisanda, the Progressive Caucus is the first of those projects. So Parliament is a particular site of struggle, if you like. And therefore, it's much easier because those people, unlike here in the community, you know, it's more difficult to organize people. Those people are already there. There are only 400 of them. And so it was logical that the Progressive Caucus in Parliament should be the starting point. And that is going very well. It's continuing. And we're hoping that from that, the spirit of unity will grow, be taken out into the communities and various other activities. So there's no threat to the Progressive Caucus. Remember that MK is the largest player in the Progressive Caucus in Parliament with 58 MPs. So in a way, MK is being the largest. It has to give direction. And we're hoping that not only to maintain the Progressive Caucus, but to grow it. Because some of the organizations that found themselves on the wrong side of the divide, such as the PAC, the UDM, and others, actually belong to this side. You'll remember when the Progressive Caucus was announced on the 14th of June, those organizations were sitting at the table. And so that's the spirit in which the Progressive Caucus will be approached. As far as, look, the organization has made itself clear about the polemics or debates with other organizations. Our approach is very simple. Our members, and this is in our constitution, are enjoined by the constitution itself not to respond to any provocation, and in particular, not to attack other progressive forces. If other people want to do that, that's fine. That is their decision. It's a free country. But we will not be falling into that trap. You know, where we are now here, those of us who are old enough to have been in this space in the 80s will know that this place we are in here was standing on the blood of people. That this particular area in KZN, thousands and thousands and thousands of our people died for nothing because of so-called political rivalry. So we shall never participate in fomenting that kind of history. And we will never regard any organization, let alone a progressive one, as our enemy. The word enemy is a very strong one. It's used only when you intend to do certain things in politics. There's a difference between opponents and rivals and enemies. So we do not take the position of calling any black person our enemy because they are our fellow oppressed people. Yeah, the issue of the tensions, I don't think people should exaggerate tensions, as I say. Tensions in politics, as I say, it's a competitive space. You know, we're all competing for the same voter pool, so to speak. So, you know, now and again, there'll be that kind of jostling. As long as we all ensure that we do not escalate that into something else, because that this country cannot afford it. Yeah. That's really all I can say about those questions.
Thank you, Advocate. I don't know if maybe the leadership is something that you want to... No, okay, you're covered. Okay. I think you've answered all the questions very nicely. I'll give members of the media the opportunity to make follow-ups or the second bite. Number one. Or maybe let me check from the people who ask questions. Do you have a follow-up?
Yes.
Who has a follow-up?
The issue on Ganda and
or the attaching of...
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, sorry. Yes,
yeah.
I forgot that.
Maybe you can deal with that.
Yes, yeah. No, again, that is an issue that will be dealt with, you know, probably by the Jacob Zuma Foundation, because they deal with the personal issues of the former president. But yeah, as far as we're concerned, we are just like you. We heard the speeches that were made. Thank you.
Any further question or clarity? Yes, sir.
Adv Dalimpofu Speech. You are someone who knows the law quite extensively, and I'm sure the constitution of the Umkhonto Sizwe Party, you've read it and you've gone through it. I'm quite interested, what are your thoughts on the whole dual membership aspect? The president of the party so much still wants to be an EFF member. You guys...
EFF?
No. You want to foment black on black violence?
Yeah, he still believes he's an ANC member. But yes. You guys are here trying to grow a party that will likely not go anyway if he still wants to go back to the ANC. What are your thoughts on the dual membership aspects?
Okay, number two.
Any other person? Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm Malelama from in some of your previous...
Can we minimize the noise, please? Can we minimize the noise? Thank you. Close the door, please. Continue, sir.
Yeah, I was saying in some of your previous events, including here in Norway, leadership, I would recall one person, I think you call him Doni, telling members to go and disband what he referred to as parallel structures at the time, and I've seen this some elements of that sort in KZN. So I just want an update to whether you still have those, to what extent are they, and in which form and shape do they exist? Are they tied to the leaders as we see them on the table, certain individuals here?
Okay. Maybe what we'll do, Chair, Advocate, let me start opening a discussion on the parallel structures. The Advocate will add, or the members of the High Command. Let's appreciate, as the Advocate said, that everything is in context, you know. MKP is a new party. And you would have noticed that there was a trending slogan that says, Asibizwa Siazizel, you know. And when people are assembling into a huge organization like this one, and for the first time that is being established and under the political environment that we see, clearly because we are coming from different background and different organization and all of that, there will be some form of tensions that would ensue during the process of working. But let me assure you, the organization is working on that process very nicely. We introduced the people's mandate, we introduced the temporary structures, and all of those things were done because people were taking initiatives. And sometimes this matter is exaggerated, especially in the media platforms, to say there are tensions that are going to disband the organization or even demobilize the organization. That is not the fact. The truth of the matter is that we are trying to build an organization here, and being at the formative stage, it's inevitable that there will be those tensions, but we are in the process of building. And as and when we introduce these systems, these things, they fade away. And as you can see now, the organization is almost stabilized. You know, we are introducing leadership in every province, and I'm sure Advocate will also touch on that. KZN has already been taken care of in terms of the convener, Willis Mkunu, Mpumalanga, Advocate Mkwebane, and we are in the process of attending to other provinces. But in the meantime, status quo remains. We do have structures that were there, and the leadership said those structures must be there until such time that officially we introduce the leadership. So I'm sure that matter will be dealt with as we proceed. Advocate.
Yes, thank you. I think maybe just to add on what Commander Bafana is saying. Again, I've said this is a new organization. Anybody who has ever been involved in a new political organization will know that it must have teething problems. If it doesn't, then we must know there's something wrong. It must be those, especially if it's a mass-based organization. Unless if it's one of those one-person, one-office organizations. Yeah. Yeah. Here we're talking about a mass organization that has produced more than 2.5 million votes in the space of 5 to 6 months. So you can imagine what that means. Before any structures could be formed properly, just because the message was resonating with our people. Post the elections, two things have happened. One was to make sure that the deployments in Parliament and in the various legislatures are done. That was accomplished. We know that our caucus in Parliament is working very well. In fact, not only did we were thrust into that space, but on our maiden arrival there, we became the official opposition of South Africa. That's not a small thing, to be the official opposition in South Africa. And so that project has gone well. The next project has been what Commander Bafana is talking about, which is to now build the structures on the ground. And you have seen the production of the Constitution, which was a very important step. And then you have seen the deployment of the officials. You've seen the installation of the new Secretary General. There's now the space that was created by that deployment of the national organizer has now been also filled. You know, the National High Command met, was it a week or two ago, Commander? Yeah, we met in Durban over 2 days and looked at all those developments. So that's the perspective. Yes, there are parallel structures. Yes, there'll always be opportunism. But the point I'm making is that the organization is busy going back to the ground to build, to rebuild, and reconcile those structures. And that work is going on wonderfully. Here in Gauteng, where we are deployed, there's a lot of progress that is already being made, as mentioned in Mpumalanga and various other provinces. So going towards next year, we will be stabilizing the organization. By the time we're talking about the second anniversary this time next year, you'll be talking about a completely different picture, a more national picture, even in the provinces where we are currently weak. Because of the high command people who are deployed there. Some of the reports we're getting are very positive. So by the time we get to 2026, then the picture will be totally different and we'll be competing even better than we did this year. Right. Now, the issue of dual membership, again, that issue is misunderstood. You must read the Constitution very carefully. What that clause says is the following. It says, save for very highly exceptional circumstances, dual membership will not be allowed. Now, what are those highly exceptional circumstances? This has been explained before by our Secretary General. The best example is which is happening, even yesterday I was called about some councillor who wants to move from a party that I won't mention for the sake of peace. Wants to move into MK. And my advice to that person was, no, don't do that. If you're going to move into MK, you must then invoke the clause on dual membership. Why is that so? Because councillors are there by virtue, those who are there, for example, for proportional representation as opposed to direct election, are there by virtue of being deployed by their parties. Okay, so if you leave the party, you lose your membership of that party. So those kinds of people may be allowed, as an example, to have dual membership, so that if they want to retain their former party, some of those people have one-person parties that I've referred to, then they can do that. So that clause was really for those. It's a transitional clause, and that's why we talk about highly exceptional circumstances. But no, we've dealt with the attachment. The issue of the issue you raised about former President Zuma's dual membership. He has explained this many times, that his view is that the real ANC was hijacked by what we call the ANC of Ramaphosa, and that the ANC that he was a member of for 65 years is what he's fighting for, to remain a member of. And as far as he's concerned, he says that Cyril Ramaphosa doesn't have the right or the authority to kick him out of the ANC. And that is the context in which he decided that because there was no longer room for debate within that party, an alternative vehicle had to be formed for our people. But, you know, again, those are issues that are handled by the former president and his foundation. As far as MK is concerned, the issue is the one of the dual membership. The ANC might not allow dual membership, that's why they kicked him out, but we do.
Thank you, Advocate. Any follow-up? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Guluva from the Malelama.